Have you ever spoken in a room and felt invisible? You present your thoughts clearly, maybe even passionately. You structure your points with logic. You know what you're saying makes sense. And yet, instead of acknowledgement, you're brushed aside. Someone interrupts before you finish. Eyes drift away. Your words hang in the air, weightless, as if you were never there at all. It's not just irritating, it cuts deeper than that. It makes you question yourself. Did I say it wrong? Do I not sound confident enough? Am I being underestimated? Most of us, from school to the workplace to relationships, have been conditioned to believe one thing: if you want respect, you have to dominate. Be louder. Be sharper. Be the one who overwhelms everyone else into silence. But here's the paradox: history's most respected figures, emperors, philosophers, leaders, even modern-day icons, didn't need to raise their voices. They didn't win attention through noise. They commanded it through calm precision. Real influence isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being the person whose words cannot be ignored. The quiet power of precision. Picture this: you're in a meeting where everyone is talking over each other. Voices rise. Egos clash. The atmosphere feels heavy. Then, without raising your tone, you deliver one short, sharp sentence. Suddenly, the room goes quiet. Eyes turn toward you. The energy shifts. Not because you shouted. Not because you threatened. But because your words had gravity. This is what the Stoics mastered. They believed in the discipline of speech, not talking endlessly, not wasting energy on noise, but choosing words that land like arrows, small, precise, and impossible to ignore. Marcus Aurelius didn't shout to be obeyed. His authority came from his composure, clarity, and brevity. Seneca didn't persuade through volume, but through words so sharp they still echo through history. And Epictetus, born a slave, rose to become one of the greatest philosophers of all time, not by force, but by mastering his response. The wisdom of the Stoics: why words matter more than volume. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. Your response is your power." Respect isn't earned through rage, tantrums, or dominance, it's earned by showing that you are in control. And words, chosen with care, are one of the purest forms of control. Think about it: the loudest voice in the room often fades into noise. But the calm voice that cuts through chaos is the one that people remember. This isn't just philosophy, it's practical. Whether you're in an office meeting, facing a heated family argument, or standing in front of someone who's trying to provoke you, the right phrase can shift the entire dynamic. That's why today, I'll give you 10 Stoic-inspired phrases you can use in almost any situation. Phrases that protect your dignity, assert your boundaries, and command respect, without ever raising your voice. And I urge you to stay until the end, because phrase number 3, it's a phrase so powerful that it can stop even your harshest critic in their tracks. It resets the conversation entirely, and it leaves people with no choice but to respect you. The 10 Stoic-inspired phrases that command respect. Phrase 1: I understand your point, but I disagree. Respect doesn't come from attacking. It comes from listening without surrendering. Most people, when challenged, either explode with, "That's wrong," or they shrink into silence. Both approaches weaken you. But when you calmly say, "I understand your point, but I disagree," you do something powerful. You show that you've listened, you've processed, and you still stand firm. Example. In a team meeting, a colleague pitches a plan you know is flawed. Instead of escalating into conflict or nodding along, you respond, "I understand your point, but I disagree." You've drawn a line, not with aggression, but with conviction. This is Stoicism in action, separating judgment from emotion. You don't need to overpower them. You just need to prove that you think independently. Phrase 2: I don't find that appropriate. This is a boundary phrase. A shield. You don't argue. You don't laugh it off nervously. You don't need to explain why. You simply state, with calm certainty, I don't find that appropriate. Example, someone makes a cruel or offensive joke at your expense. Most people nervously chuckle or stay silent, feeding the disrespect. But you look directly at them and say, I don't find that appropriate. Instantly, the room shifts. Silence follows. Seneca once wrote, he who respects himself will be respected by others. This phrase is self-respect turned into action. You've drawn a line in the sand without raising a fist. Phrase 3, let's talk when we can do so respectfully. This one is a game changer. When someone's yelling, insulting, or trying to dominate you, the natural instinct is to match their energy. But the Stoic way is different, you disengage until respect is restored. By calmly saying, let's talk when we can do so respectfully, you take back control of the entire exchange. You've set the rules. If they want to continue, they must adapt to your standard. Example, someone keeps interrupting and raising their voice. Instead of raising yours, you calmly state this phrase. They now have two choices, lower their tone, or lose the conversation. This is pure Stoic mastery. You cannot control their anger, but you can control your engagement. And in that control lies authority. Phrase 8, I have a different perspective. This phrase lets you disagree without being disagreeable. Example, a colleague says, everyone should work overtime if they want success. Instead of bluntly saying, that's wrong, you respond, I have a different perspective. You've opened a doorway to dialogue instead of conflict. That's intellectual humility, the Stoic mark of strength. Phrase 9, is there anything else you'd like to add before I respond? This phrase disarms aggression by giving the other person room to finish. It shows you're not threatened, and that confidence commands respect. Example, someone's ranting, trying to overwhelm you. Instead of jumping in defensively, you calmly ask, is there anything else you'd like to add before I respond? Suddenly, they pause. The tension softens. You look unshakable. Epictetus would call this strength through listening. Phrase 10, thank you for sharing that with me. This is the graceful exit phrase. You acknowledge without absorbing. You close the conversation without conflict. Example, a coworker dumps endless complaints onto you. Instead of getting pulled in, you reply, thank you for sharing that with me. And then you move on. This is the Stoic art of protecting your inner peace. You don't owe your energy to every storm. The Stoic way of commanding respect. Respect isn't commanded through shouting, aggression, or force. It's commanded through composure, restraint, and carefully chosen words that carry weight. The Stoics understood this. They led armies, guided empires, and endured hardship, not by being the loudest, but by being unshakable. These 10 phrases are your modern arsenal, simple, clear, and incredibly powerful when delivered with calm conviction. Use them, and you'll notice a shift. People stop interrupting. They stop dismissing. They start listening. Because true authority doesn't come from volume. It comes from mastery of self. Phrase 11, let me clarify what I meant. Often, people twist your words, sometimes intentionally, sometimes out of misunderstanding. Instead of getting defensive, reclaim the frame with calm clarification. Example, in a heated discussion, someone misquotes you. Instead of snapping, you say, let me clarify what I meant. Suddenly, you've regained control of the narrative. Stoic principle, don't get lost in appearances. Bring things back to clarity and truth. Phrase 12, let's focus on what we can control. Arguments spiral because people obsess over what's beyond their reach. This phrase redirects energy to solutions. Example, a coworker spends a meeting complaining about company policy. You interject, let's focus on what we can control. The room shifts from frustration to action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. This phrase embodies that wisdom. Phrase 13, that doesn't work for me. This is a respectful refusal. It's firm, but not rude. Example, someone pressures you into staying late or joining something you don't want. Instead of over-explaining, you say, that doesn't work for me. You've set a boundary without guilt. Stoic principle, freedom comes from knowing when to say no. Phrase 14, I'll get back to you on that. This buys you time without being dismissive. You don't owe instant compliance to anyone. Example, someone tries to pressure you into making a decision right now. Instead of rushing, you respond, I'll get back to you on that. You've maintained control over your timing. Seneca advised, never let urgency rob you of wisdom. Phrase 15, I appreciate your input, but I'll make my own decision. This phrase acknowledges advice without surrendering autonomy. Example, family or friends push their view of what you should do with your career, relationship, or money. You say, I appreciate your input, but I'll make my own decision. Stoic principle. Respect others, but never become a slave to their opinions. Phrase 16, I'd like us to keep this professional. Sometimes, respect in the workplace isn't lost through shouting, it's lost through subtle disrespect. A sarcastic tone, a personal jab, or a joke disguised as criticism can slowly erode authority. Most people either laugh it off nervously or stay quiet, but silence can signal acceptance. This phrase is your line in the sand. I'd like us to keep this professional. It's not emotional. It's not an attack. It's a reset. When you use it, you reframe the conversation back to the task, not the tension. Example, a colleague mocks your idea during a meeting. Instead of firing back or sulking, you look at them and calmly state, I'd like us to keep this professional. The power here lies in your composure. You've instantly shifted the spotlight from your supposed weakness to their lack of discipline. In Stoicism, dignity is armor. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to expect insults and rudeness, yet to remain unshaken. By keeping things professional, you protect your dignity and refuse to be dragged into pettiness. Phrase 17, I'm not comfortable with that. This is one of the strongest boundary-setting phrases because it cannot be logically attacked. It's not about proving why you're right, it's about declaring where your line is. When you say, I'm not comfortable with that, you place the conversation on unshakable ground, your values, your conscience, your standards. Example, a colleague pressures you into signing off on a shady deal. Instead of debating or lecturing, you calmly say, I'm not comfortable with that. No raised voice. No justification. Just clarity. This phrase carries immense power because it's both polite and final. Few can argue with your personal comfort without looking like they're crossing a moral line. Stoic principle, your integrity is your greatest asset. Seneca wrote that wealth, power, and influence mean little if you betray yourself. This phrase is your verbal shield. It protects you from being dragged into anything against your character. Phrase 18, let's agree to disagree. Endless arguments consume energy without producing progress. Sometimes, wisdom isn't about winning, it's about walking away with your peace intact. Let's agree to disagree is not surrender. It's a truce. It signals that you recognize the futility of the tug-of-war and would rather preserve the relationship, your energy, and your clarity than score a point. Example, you're in a heated political or ideological debate. The other person is more interested in winning than understanding. Instead of battling on, you calmly conclude, let's agree to disagree. This phrase has a dual effect, it saves you from being drained, and it subtly highlights the other person's stubbornness without insulting them. Epictetus taught, it is impossible for a man to begin to learn that which he thinks he already knows. Why waste energy convincing the unconvincible? Better to preserve your strength for where it matters. Phrase 19, could you explain what you mean by that? Few things are more powerful in conversation than a calm question. When someone makes a vague, condescending, or even insulting comment, the instinct is to strike back. But striking back feeds their frame. Instead, you turn the mirror toward them. Could you explain what you mean by that? This phrase is devastating for manipulators, because most of the time, they don't have a clear point, they rely on tone, innuendo, or implication. By calmly asking for clarity, you expose the emptiness of their jab. Example, someone says, "You always seem to have a unique way of doing things." Instead of flaring up, you tilt your head slightly and respond, "Could you explain what you mean by that?" Now, the burden of justification falls entirely on them. This is Stoicism in its purest form, curiosity over anger. Don't rush to judgment, seek clarity. Often, the act of questioning diffuses tension and forces the other person to retreat. Phrase 20, that's enough for now. Every conflict has a point of diminishing returns. Beyond that, more words only mean wasted energy and rising tension. The phrase, "that's enough for now," is the ultimate closure. It asserts that you, not the other person, not the chaos, decide when the conversation ends. Example, you're in an argument that's been going in circles. Voices rise. You sense nothing constructive will come from continuing. You straighten your posture and calmly declare, "That's enough for now." Then you stop speaking. The silence does the rest. This phrase is powerful because it combines finality